Hello, everybody. It's Leah here, and I'm here today to talk to you about hypnotherapy. So, I want to talk about what hypnotherapy is and also why I'm offering hypnotherapy as a way that can really help people with ADHD to start to live their best life, to live well. Um, Now, hypnotherapy can be a source of a bit of confusion for people. Often people don't actually really know what hypnotherapy is. Um, and, people often say in their first session, I don't really know what you do. I don't really know what I've signed myself up for here. Um, and that's because I think that for a lot of people, hypnosis, and particular stage hypnosis, is something really they've only seen in, on television or in films, and it's very different to the kind of thing that you would experience when you come to somebody like myself. Um, so I wanted to give you an overview, really, on what it is, what hypnotherapy is. Um, Now, if you can't do something with your conscious mind, then usually what we're saying is that the unconscious mind is getting involved in some way. Now, the unconscious mind, actually, if you ask brain scientists, people, neuroscientists that research these kinds of things, they'll tell you that the unconscious mind is probably about 90 or 95%, possibly more, of what your brain is doing at any one time. So it's a really huge proportion of what's going on, which means that the bit that we're aware of, the conscious part of the mind, that's our thinking mind, that's the bit that we recognize as ourselves. That's a really tiny bit of what's going on. And so most of the time, when we're looking to make changes, we try and do it with the conscious mind. So, in other words, we make a decision with our thinking mind and say, this is how things are going to be. So, whether that's because we decide to be calmer, or whether it's because we want to, change a habit, maybe we want to stop smoking, or, stop eating chocolate, whatever it might be. And that's absolutely fine as long as the unconscious mind is willing to go along with it. And that's what can cause the problem for lots of people. Um, so, when I'm talking about the conscious and unconscious mind, what I tend to do is use a metaphor of an elephant and its rider. So, we, our conscious mind, our thinking mind, we're the rider, and the elephant is the unconscious mind. Now, if the rider of the elephant decides that, looking at all the terrain and all the things that they know that they need to do, if they decide that left is the most helpful way for the rider and the elephant to go, um, then if they try and take, oh, I'm trying to show my hands, if they try and steer the elephant to the left, um, and the elephant wants to go along with them, then actually, yes, the elephant, sorry, the rider is the boss, the rider's in charge, and things will happen smoothly. Um, However, if the elephant doesn't want to go, doesn't want to move at all, or perhaps it wants to go right, then it's going to be really, really hard for the rider to persuade the elephant differently. And that's what happens when we try and do things by willpower. That's exactly what's going on. We are trying forcibly to get our unconscious mind to go along with us. And the problem with that is it takes an awful lot of effort. And actually, that's if it's even possible at all. So, hypnotherapy, simplistically speaking, is a way of helping you, the rider, to um, to kind of converse with your elephant, if you like, to help it to understand why you want to do the things that you want to do and get it on board so that it starts to move in the same direction that you want it to do. So hypnotherapy means the use of talking therapies of some kind or another, and different people will use different ones, alongside hypnosis. So, in the main, when I'm working with anxiety in general and also anxiety in people that have ADHD, I will tend to use a specialized questioning technique called solution focused therapy. And it's very specially adapted and it's further adapted for people with ADHD to make it suitable. But it's a very powerful way of getting the brain prepared to make the kind of changes we want it to change when we then take you into the second part of the session, which is the hypnosis, or more accurately, the trance part of the session. Now, I'm a little bit reluctant to use the word trance, and that's only because I feel like it's got a negative connotation that it doesn't deserve. Um, Actually, trance is a really natural thing. So as we go through our day, we go in and out of trance many, many times a day. So it might be that we're driving along, we plan to stop at the shop on the way home, and we get to our front door and realise we didn't stop at the shop. We haven't even thought about it because we've been, off with the fairies. We're in a world of our own, as we would say. And that will, in all likelihood, have been a trance, but a trance that's happening naturally. Now, your brain doesn't make changes at any other time when you're awake other than in trance. So it's a really, really powerful time for the brain. And the unconscious part of the brain is already much more receptive. And so it becomes a very helpful way to help you to create change. So, what will being in a hypnotic trance feel like? People often have concerns about being made to cluck like a chicken, or that I'll have some kind of control over them. And the fact is that I don't. Trance is a really, really powerful time for the brain, but that's not because I have control over you. It's because your brain is more open and receptive. But there are parts of your brain that will protect you at all times. So if you've got somebody up on stage who's with a stage hypnotist and they've been told to forget the number 7, the parts of the brain that are constantly protecting them have basically recognized that you've already said yes to this. You've kind of, put yourself on stage knowing that things like this are going to happen. However, if they asked you to do something that was really unacceptable to you, then you absolutely wouldn't do it. So it's very, very different in a clinical setting anyway. The type of and level of trance that we would need to get you to make the kind of changes that we need to are actually or can be quite light. So when we're working over video call, as I do with most of my ADHD clients, I'll get you to find somebody somewhere comfortable. And we'll have talked about this ahead of time. So some people use like their sofa. If they've got a really comfortable chair, I might get you to use that. But I always get people to bear in mind about the back of your head, because what we don't want is to be lolling forward. So it needs to be a chair that you can lean back in, that you can relax in. And feel comfortable, not have your head lolling about as you relax. And some people just use their bed. It really doesn't matter. It just needs to be somewhere that's nice and comfortable for you. So we'll make you nice and comfortable, and we'll make sure that I can see your face, so I can watch for the signs that I need to look for to check that I'm doing what I need to do. And then I'll begin to talk, and it's a much different voice to my day-to-day voice. It's much calmer, much quieter, much more rhythmic, and it's all designed. Um, the tone of my voice, the pace of my voice, the things that I'm saying, to help your mind feel comfortable to go in and out of trance. Now, it might feel really, really ordinary. For some people, trance just feels like they're lying there, they're feeling nice and comfortable, and their eyes are closed, and they're just maybe just drifting in and out of awareness slightly. So they're listening to me for a bit, and then they're not listening to me because their thought processes have triggered. And that's really fine, that's really normal. You might find that there's other things that happen. You might feel particularly heavy, particularly light. You might have colours coming across your closed eyelids. All sorts of little symptoms, and all they're really doing is telling you that the parts of the mind that monitor these things are getting a little bit dippy, and that's it. So I hope that gives you a good overview of hypnotherapy. Now, I just very quickly want to talk a little bit about ADHD and why hypnotherapy is particularly good for ADHD. Um, and I'll expand on this more another time. But basically, when we have ADHD, which I do, for those of you who don't know already, we basically have sort of deficits in certain areas of our mind. And a really big and important one is our executive function. So there are areas of the brain that not only ensure that all the different parts of the brain are working together, that information is being passed from one place to another and it's not getting lost in the journey. Um, and also that dampen down inappropriate impulses, things that aren't helpful to you. So whether it's, bursting out with that comment that gets you in trouble, or whether it's the anxiety that's inappropriate that the brain isn't recognizing and calming down, whether it's the inability to keep your focus on one thing and having yourself distracted by all sorts of other things, whichever of those it is, and more besides. In an ADHD brain, the executive function, the ability to kind of take control of all these things and make sure that the brain is working in a really helpful way, is limited. And everybody's different. So everybody has a different effect. Everybody has different kind of personality strengths and weaknesses. So how that kind of manifests can be really, really different. But a very common way that it manifests is anxiety. And I'm going to talk more about this in the future, but very simplistically, the unconscious mind tends to create anxiety, and it reacts and it responds. And in somebody with ADHD, for lots of reasons that I'm going to cover another time, we tend to get more anxious. We tend to create more anxiety. But also, we're less good at controlling that anxiety. We're less, or our brain, because this isn't us doing it intentionally. This isn't us going, "Oh, I failed to sort my anxiety." It's our brain, the part of our brain which isn't working quite as efficiently as it would in somebody without ADHD, isn't managing the anxiety part of the brain as well as it could be. So the reason why hypnotherapy is really, really good is twofold. Number one, what we actually are able to do is slow down the amount that you're actually triggering that anxiety. But also, this unconscious part of the mind is where anxiety comes from. And hypnotherapy, because we're able to access or interact with the elephant and calm that elephant, that unconscious part of the mind down, so it's not reacting so much. Actually, there's less for your executive function to manage. So it's quite a complicated thing to talk about very quickly in a video, and I've already taken far longer than I intended to. So I hope it's been really useful and helpful to you, and interesting. And if there are further things that you want me to talk about, or things that haven't made sense, then please do drop me a line. You can get hold of me on my website, which is leahleaves.com, or you can email me at leah@leahleaves.com, and hopefully my lovely tech people will get some some little subtitles up there that will show you how to spell those things, or indeed comment below if you'd like to, and if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to cover, I'm really happy to do so. So I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.